Sci-Fi Buzz is seizing control of your set with a look at how virtual reality is invading your life. Buzzy with a welcome visitor, Nana Visitor from Deep Space Nine. Author Stanley Robinson moves from red to green to blue Mars. And some of our favorite werewolf movies. Oh! Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sci-Fi Buzz. I'm Mike Jarek, and welcome to you, and welcome back to Susan Hyman, who's just back from the world of virtual reality. Ooh, was it weird?
My head is still spinning.
Oh, it's Linda Blair.
When most people think of virtual reality, I think they think of entertainment, games, rides, but it's being used in the medical field, military, even on Wall Street.
5 years ago, the words virtual reality meant very little to the majority of the public. But what a difference half a decade makes. Just ask the organizers of VR94, a virtual reality conference and exhibition that was recently held in San Jose, California. They've witnessed a tremendous explosion of growth and interest in all aspects of the industry. Suffice it to say, virtual reality has finally hit the mainstream.
I'm not quite certain how the mainstream perceives virtual reality. It's still seen as a zany or possibly scary thing, but certainly with this conference and the publications, we're attempting to portray it as a reasonable way to gather information or translate information in our own minds.
Virtual reality, or VR as it's often called, refers to a variety of technologies that enable users to participate in three-dimensional environments generated by computers. If it works, participants should feel like they're existing within and interacting with an artificially created environment.
The public, the press, as you're here, and the business community, as you know, it's like a feeding frenzy. They're like piranhas out there. They just can't get enough of this. Entertainment's the way of the future. High-tech, interactive entertainment is what everybody's interested in.
The use of virtual reality for entertainment is indeed a blossoming industry. Arcades like Cybermind Center and Virtual World currently offer a dozen interactive games for play at $1 a minute. These amusement centers serve as one of the few VR outlets where the general public can appease their growing curiosity. But proclaiming entertainment as the wave of the future appears to be a matter of opinion here.
I actually believe that this is going to be much bigger than entertainment at some point. Entertainment's the obvious thing to do, and it's sort of easy to see how it fits in, and it is going to be huge. But there's a lot of business applications out there that are sort of untapped.
There was a swirl of interest surrounding the VR Trader, a three-dimensional interface to the stock market that provides real-time quotations. The company behind it, Avatar Partners, is committed to creating consumer-level products that incorporate VR technology.
The whole idea of presenting information in three-dimensional formats, very, very important. A new way of thinking about information. Visual, not numeric. Symbolic, not numeric.
Strolling along the vast convention floor, one was overwhelmed with powerful high-tech visions of the future. But oddly enough, there was a sense of nostalgia as well. Sometimes it only takes a pair of simple 3D glasses to immerse oneself into an artificial world. But a technically advanced head mount is required for more sophisticated virtual reality. Once priced at $50,000, VR headgear is now available for around $2,000. Because they're less cumbersome, with a more crisp professional quality than ever before, head mounts are finding uses that range from phone line research to trade show demonstrations to video-assisted surgery.
Conventionally, they're looking over at a monitor and it's bad for their necks, and you lose your eye-hand coordination. So doctors are starting to use this because they can be right over the patient and just glance up to see the data.
Using virtual reality to help the disabled is one of the fastest growing sectors in the industry.
If I was hearing impaired, I could have a microphone, voice recognition, and speech to text, and be reading large text on my monitor right now and talking to anybody without having to read lips.
We've barely touched the surface of what's going on in virtual reality. But have no fear, we'll buzz more about our trip to VR94 on a future episode of the show.
This is Brian Hancock from Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I'd like to recommend the Japanese anime series, The Bubblegum Crisis and The Bubblegum Crash. Both of them are distributed by Animego Incorporated. It's the story of 4 women who have these battle armor suits and they fight against these cyborg beings called the Boomers. It's a wonderful series, beautiful animation.
Most of all, I know that the Cardassians can't be trusted to keep their side of the bargain in this treaty.
With her role as Major Kira Nerys on Deep Space Nine, Nana Visitor has created one of the most powerful female characters in the Star Trek franchise and on television. Her Bajoran freedom fighter turned Federation First Officer is a complex woman and a role model to many viewers. But Visitor says she rarely considers how her work will be received.
The thing that comes naturally to me to do is to play this woman, not women, not a big sign, this is a strong woman. I play a woman, and with faults and problems and yearnings and growth. And that's what I do, and that's what I stay true to. And if it has an effect, I am thrilled and amazed, but I don't let that move what I do.
Maybe you can teach me what I need to know to become the leader of Bajor, as you have.
After 2 seasons on Deep Space Nine, Nana probably has the clout to work with the writers in shaping her character. But Visitor is no prima donna, and she uses her influence sparingly.
Some people get into that that I've seen in the business, and it's suddenly, no, I don't want her being wrong. I don't want her looking awkward. I don't want her looking ugly because the people watching. And what's great is that Kira's not set up that way. Kira's set up as, you know, a very fallible person. So that gives me a lot of freedom.
Benjamin Sisko, I know, would never sell his soul and allow himself to become part of this tyranny against his own people.
But there are some things that aren't truthful. You know, how she would not talk to a Cardassian or Quark or the commander or, you know, those things I know, and those things I speak up about very quickly.
I cannot justify taking you into this wormhole. We have no idea what we're dealing with in there.
Ever since the series began, Visitor has been a favorite with viewers. She receives a lot of fan mail, and the content of those letters never ceases to astound her.
If you read some of these letters, the children wanting a friend, I'm sure many people in the business get letters like this, but it touches me greatly. Children who have seen something in Major Kira that makes them better able to cope. Women who have said, I just wanted you to know that I joined the Air Force because of you. I didn't think that I had the capabilities, but I decided if Major Kira can do what she does, and she's such a mess, then maybe I can too.
I care about freedom. What I don't understand is why you don't care.
Now that her character has been embraced by Star Trek fans, there's no turning back for Nana Visitor. She will forever be tied to Major Kira Nerys. Luckily, Nana has the right disposition to carry such a burden.
Some actors don't like people very much. I really like people, and I like to know about them, and I'm not upset when they come up to me as long as they don't feel like they own me. And I have to say that Star Trek watchers are some of the most respectful people I've ever come across, and intelligent. So it's always a pleasure to talk to them.
A full moon frenzy is just ahead, and that includes Harlan Ellison.
I'm Mae Lewis, and I'm from Key West, Florida. And I'm recommending 2 new authors. One is Michelle Shirley Crean, who's Dancer of the Six, very, very much intrigued me. And Margaret Davis with Mindlight, also a new author by Del Rey Discoveries. Both of these books are excellent adventure.
Oh, wait, come on back for a minute. After I got done with that, the producer, who's a very, very dear man, has only one eye, but a very sweet man, says to me, that's a little mean-spirited. You didn't tell us why these people are so bad. He said, I'll join your cause if you can give me examples. Well, what I'm talking about here is that these people are mean-spirited themselves. We're talking about unkindness to each other. Because they're at some far place in the transcontinental web, they think they can say anything they like. They're like bullies who snipe at you from the back door, and when you get close enough to hit them in the head with a ball bat, they slam the door on you. This kind of behavior is just simply cruel. They spread terrible gossip. They spread rumors that don't matter. One idiot in New York City recently spread the rumor that somebody had sold a story to Omni that had been at Playboy and had been rejected out of hand at Playboy, and it was unreadable. Well, the story has been picked for the best American short stories. It's a perfectly good story. But this fool decided that it would be nice to bad rap the author, so he put it on the web, and people pick it up. And you hear these rumors repeated over and over again. They're like the chihuahua in the microwave thing. You know, I put my chihuahua in the microwave. I know someone who did that, and the dog blew up. Boom! Well, we know that's craziness. We know that it's urban fantasy. We know that it's mythology. These bulletin boards provide people who are cowards, who have no integrity, with the ability to badmouth anyone they wish. And they get away with it because there's no law at the moment. What I'm saying is these people have too much time on their hands. They're kvetches. They're just yentas. They're not nice. Now you can go away. Go, go, go.
Of the hundreds and hundreds of stories our very own Harlan Ellison has written, a few have been about werewolves. Do you remember Adrift Just Off the Islets of Langerhaus? Read it this morning? I'll have him breakfast. Ah, it's a good one, Harlan. Also in films, werewolves have enjoyed a very fascinating history. Some have been imaginative, like Harlan's. Others have been rather hokey, but they've all been very scary. Brace yourself. This summer, Jack Nicholson pounces onto the big screen in Wolf. And as he unleashes a whirlwind of menace, Nicholson will surely breathe new life into one of horror's longest-running traditions, the werewolf movie.
Don't look so scared.
Go in.
Hollywood started making werewolf films as far back as 1913, and we've unearthed some of our favorites. Universal's Werewolf of London in 1935 was the first major screen treatment of lycanthropy. That's werewolfism.
The werewolf is neither man nor wolf, but a satanic creature with the worst qualities of both.
Henry Hull stars as the cursed Dr. Glendon. His lupine visage was created by monster master Jack Pierce. While much of the film is shrouded in shadow, one scene does treat the audience to an unobstructed view of the Doctor's moonlit transformation. No small achievement for that day and age.
Jenny Williams attacked by some large animal. That right, Dr. Lloyd?
Her jugular was severed with a bite of powerful teeth.
6 years later, Universal was at it again with a film that was supposed to be called Destiny. The name was later changed to The Wolfman. This time around, Lon Chaney Jr. took the role of the hirsute monster, and he's owned it ever since.
Evil spell, pentagram, wolfbane. Oh, I'm sick of the whole thing. I'm going to get out of here.
As the sympathetic Lawrence Talbot, Lon Chaney Jr. set the standard against which all subsequent Wolfmen were and are compared. The film made him a huge star and was his own personal favorite. In this scene, Chaney really shows off his acting talents. That ferocious beast was actually Lon's beloved German Shepherd. Chaney brought the Wolfman to life in several other film and TV projects, most notably the action-packed Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, and House of Dracula. Back then, Universal would lift footage from one film and reuse it in another. Werewolf movie lore has it that shots from Ghost of Frankenstein, starring Chaney as the monster, were used in House of Dracula. So if you study the film closely, you may see Chaney as Frankenstein fleeing from Chaney as Lawrence Talbot.
You better not let anyone hear you talk like that, Peppy. You'll wind up in a booby hatch. Werewolf. Come on.
Our favorite werewolf film from the 50s is I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Okay, class, now who played the rock and roll werewolf? That's right, the late Michael Landon. Although once he became a big star, Landon preferred not to talk about his role as the fuzzy predator. The film was the best of the teenage monster movies. It has all the elements of a great horror film and is not without its own campy charm.
I dream my mole drinking blood. Help me, Uncle, please help me.
Yes, I'll help you.
But Landon's teenage beast isn't the youngest werewolf in film history. 1961's The Curse of the Werewolf chronicles the life of its lupine hero from cradle to grave. What it lacks in showy optical effects, this film classic makes up for with an abundance of blood-curdling chills. Flash forward to the early 80s for our last werewolf classic. An American Werewolf in London is a darkly comedic look at lycanthropy. And it set a new standard for special effects makeup. Viewers beware, Rick Baker's man-to-beast transformations provide images that, like it or not, are indelible. This meager sampling has no doubt stirred you into a werewolf-watching frenzy. Perfect timing. The Sci-Fi Channel presents its Full Moon Frenzy this week. Stay parked and you'll be able to feed on these films in their entirety. After pounding out stories for nearly 20 years, science fiction writer Stanley Robinson found great success last year with his novel Red Mars. The second book in the planned trilogy, Green Mars, is now out, with Blue Mars to follow. Robinson says all this was inspired by the data NASA gathered from the Viking and Mariner Mars explorations.
In Red Mars, I have my characters begin the terraforming of Mars into a planet that human beings could walk around on the surface and breathe the air, and there would be plant life. Now, on the one hand, I think this is a beautiful project. It's like building a cathedral. It's one of the great human projects of all time. But on the other hand, the Mars that is already there right now is a sublime place with its own integrity, you might say. So I feel both ways about terraforming Mars, and that is one of the sources of energy I have for this long project.
Since getting his PhD in English 11 years ago, Stanley Robinson has become a prolific sci-fi novelist. But his work in the genre has been subject to intense scrutiny.
I'm pretty much of a realist and fairly conservative for a science fiction writer in that I try to only write about human beings in situations that I think are possible. Which cuts out a lot of science fiction scenarios. But it bothers me because it seems to me that people are then trying to say that science fiction can't be about realistic scenarios, that they have to be about cardboard characters in completely wild situations, and that it can only be space opera. And science fiction is just much more than space opera.
In his quest for realism, Robinson has become interested in wilderness science fiction, a concept attributed to one of his literary heroes.
Most science fiction has come out of the urban industrial culture. It's city people's literature. So I've been paying more and more attention, not only in my own work and what I write, but also in what I've been reading, to a growing group of writers who are, in many ways, children of Ursula K. Le Guin, who is a major figure in this movement of environmentalist science fiction, or science fiction that is saying that we ought to start thinking about futures that include wilderness and include the natural world as a necessary component, like an extension of our body. And this is in opposition to that strand of science fiction that is very powerful right now that talks about maybe downloading ourselves into computers or living perpetually in cyberspace. I mean, this is a kind of a rejection of the body and of nature that I think is sad. It's just not, it's cutting out most of what I find pleasurable in life.
In researching his Mars trilogy, Robinson hiked barren terrain to get a feel for the topography of the red planet. He even followed the Planetary Society to Death Valley, California. The society, which was formed to promote exploration of the solar system, was there to test the latest version of their Mars rover. But even more satisfying than the research, Robinson says, was the deluge of mail he received after the book's publication.
There are people who are interested in Mars that are all over the world who are amateur astronomers, and they've been checking in with letters and phone calls, and space scientists are interested in it. So in that sense, I feel like I've increased the amount of people that I know and the amount of feedback I'm getting, which is all great.
The third book, Blue Mars, is scheduled for release next year. The trilogy will chronicle 200 years of civilization on the planet. Now, I'd say that would be called sci-fi, wouldn't you? If you like Kim Stanley Robinson's latest, Green Mars, why don't you give the buzzword for space explorers out there. If you want to mine the bottomless depths of the internet, I got something here for you. There's a program on the net called Gopher. Gophers are useful because they let you find whatever you want to find in a real easy way. They have very easy menus here. Now, a simple way to gopher is just to type in, let's see, G-O-P-H-E-R, since most systems have a default gopher available. So happy burrowing out there, and we'll see you next week for more Sci-Fi Buzz.
What happened to our once great space program? Inside Space looks at life after Apollo tonight at 2 a.m., 11 p.m. Pacific. Now stay tuned for Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion next.